Even in the pre-dawn black, hampered by clammy fog that clung to Harris Creek's surface, Tom Packard could just make out the form marooned on the tiny spit of sand. Inexperienced eyes might mistake it for a beached animal, or even a piece of flotsam routinely tossed ashore by the bay and its tributaries. Packard, a Vietnam vet and an experienced waterman, knew better. He faced a dilemma. Harris Creek was an oyster sanctuary, off-limits to fishermen. He had no business there, especially with a basket rake and a 5-gallon bucket. He risked losing his license, his boat, maybe worse. He accepted that the government was making a concerted, if heavy-handed effort to clean up the polluted bay and grow the oyster population. The effect was to drive the watermen out of business. What else was he supposed to do? 40 years he'd been fishing the Chesapeake. He earned his living collecting from those murky waters. He could leave right then and let someone else figure out who'd washed up in close proximity to the million-dollar-plus vacation homes that dotted the area. But though he might be a poacher in the state's eyes, Tom Packard was no civic slacker. He'd served his country. He understood duty. The fisherman shut off the red and green running lights of his gray fishing boat, Pearly Gates, and trained his 200-lumen flashlight directly onto the shadowed mass. He drew a sharp breath and called 911. Sam Tate sat in the center of her tiny living room, her dark curls piled haphazardly on top of her head, her hands at heart center. She raised one arm straight up and reached over her head. She repeated the movement on the other side, taking care to ease her way into the stretch. She went through the cycle twice more, then stood and did it again before ending in mountain pose. She followed with sets of sun salutations, 9 in all, with additional poses she inserted in the middle for variety. She remembered to accompany each effort with slow breathing. Morning yoga afforded her a sort of serenity, at least when she could keep her mind from wandering. She liked to run, sometimes alone, sometimes with Terry, when he could get up from D.C. or she could get away from her new job. FBI Special Agent Terry Sloan, her partner on the Wedding Crasher case and now her boyfriend, was also a student pursuing an advanced degree while transitioning to a supervisory role within the Bureau. They were 70 miles apart and lucky to spend 2 consecutive weekends together. Come on, Tate, be in the moment. Fat chance of that. Maybe she could take a class rather than watch a video. Somehow, though, the idea trying to still the mind while surrounded by other people seemed counterintuitive. She gave up and went to sit in the rocker on the porch of her rented cottage, blanket wrapped around her, coffee mug in hand. She enjoyed listening to the whispering water and waiting for the world to wake up. She frequently found herself in this chair in the wee hours of the morning, brought awake too early by bad dreams. Rocking back and forth reminded her of another cottage outside Birdsville, Tennessee, where for 3 years she had rented a room from Cora Granville, a good-hearted soul who also happened to be something of a busybody. She missed chatting with the woman. She also missed easily available, high-quality bourbon, monthly poker games with county officials, and her loyal and dedicated staff. No romance in her life back then, but she'd enjoyed being sheriff of the sleepy county. She could have stayed there. She would have, if life hadn't interfered. A short burst of notes pulled her out of her head. A text. 10:35. Major crime alert.